Hello, 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 hello. All right, morning, everyone. We'll get started here. All right, U.S. stocks managed to close a reasonable session on Friday afternoon, but to wrap up its second week of losses on the entire year. Obviously a small week of losses, but small losses nonetheless. Obviously, Cyprus was a big weight on the market shoulders this past week. That's been wrapped up over the weekend. I think it's important to keep it in perspective. And one comment Jim O'Neill from Goldman Sachs made, saying that China creates another Cyprus every week. So that really kind of puts it in perspective there. You look at what they did on the bailout story. I mean, you can see how the euro just absolutely ripped overnight from where it was. I think we were at right around 129 on Friday evening, and you can see some of the terms that they're looking at here. They haven't really made everything, I don't think, 100% clear yet, but it's going to be a 10 billion euro bailout, which is about what they're expecting. It doesn't look like they're going to do any haircuts on accounts under 100,000 euros, but it looks like those haircuts for 100,000 plus could be up to 40%. So that's pretty significant. And the Cyprus Popular Bank, which is 84% government owned, would be down. So I think it's really is going to be wound down over time. So I think it's really important that we realize what the details are here, but the market's really telling us what it's going to react to, and it likes what it sees so far, I think. So. All right, today, just as a note, Friday we saw come out the Nigerian Communications Commission saying that they were going to cut interconnection rates for voice calls from 8.2 naira to 6.4, and to 3.9 from 5.2, depending on the operating license. I think what's important to note is that that's obviously going to affect MTN, but it looks like the note that Barclays put out on Friday is it's only going to be 2% of earnings. So, we obviously had a 5 Rand divvy that came out on Friday, but the share got hit 13 Rand. So it looks like a pretty big reaction to it. I think the big worry is that they're going to do the same here locally, which has been talked about for ages, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that on the horizon. So if that does come out, I think it's important to note that their total revenues from interconnect fees are somewhere along the lines of 10 to 13%, and that's between all operations. So even if you did have a interconnect reduction here, it obviously is going to affect revenues, but at the end of the day, I think they over-exaggerated just a touch on Friday. All right, and market data today, very light. We got CPI out of Italy, and then the U.S. later. We've got Chicago Fed and Dallas Fed Manufacturing, and that's it for the data of today. Let's have a look at the maps. All right. First thing, let's look at is ABSA. Okay. Obviously, ABSA, we've got this major head and shoulder pattern that we talked about for ages that was setting up, and then now it's finally played out. Obviously, very well defined. No need to really go over that. I've had so many people asking me over the last couple of days, where do you buy this thing? Where do you buy this thing? So I just wanted to have a look at it today, and actually have a look. I remember when we were watching this thing before. It was the worst trading stock on the board when it broke down after those numbers in middle of the year last year, and then we broke up when Barclays released their plan and what they were going to do in Africa and with ABSA's move into the rest of Africa. So what I think is really important is the level we really opened up at and broke down below was 148, and then when we broke up to the upside, you can see that we had tested it earlier in November, and we broke out here at 148. So if you're looking for a nibble and just freaking can't wait to get your hands on some of these things, that's the level that you're going to want to look to buy close to is 148. The real completion of this pattern is all the way down to close to $138. You could maybe call that 140 if you wanted to, but really 138, 140 is a full completion of the head and shoulders. But if you're really just desperate to get a hold of some, around 148 might not be a bad place to nibble. And what could easily happen is I think the APSA does pay quite a large dividend, 4.5 rand divvy or something like that at the end of this week. And we could trade around close to that 148. And then when the divvy comes out, we're looking down here closer to 140 for a day or two. So it's very possible to see that happening. But bottom line is, 148 is probably the first place that you're really going to want to look to enter in APSA. All right. Let's look at MTN also after Friday's action. Just really crashed through levels on Friday, obviously. We sent out a tweet middle of the day about 164 being last line, 164 being last line of defense, really, for MTN, and we really got below that. And you can see that level there. Very clear-cut level, which we closed below. So we moved below trendline resistance, and we moved below horizontal resistance in MTN on Friday. Incredibly important. The next real level that I look at is what's that? It's right at the 200-day moving average. Okay, yeah. Apparently MTN's right at the 200-day moving average. Sorry, but 150 here would really be the next real level of horizontal support. What it also looks like it could potentially happen is that we could end up making a little bit of a bounce off of this level, which is slightly below kind of this 164 level. But if we bounced off of here and traded sideways for a few days, we would also kind of set up nicely into a head and shoulder pattern as well. So watch this closely. If we are able to kind of hang on to these levels, we could have some horizontal trade going on for a while before maybe it even resumes its down leg a little bit. All right. Tiger Brands, we've shown this chart about 100 times over the last little while, but it has come down to test it several times, and it's been a nice winner from there. But we really closed right at trendline support, horizontal support on Friday. And I think it's really important to watch this one closely. For some reason to me, this thing feels like it may not make it here, but very important to watch around 287. If we are able to break down from there, we could see further downside, further significant downside in Tiger Brands. All right, let's look at Naspers. The reason I want to show this one is because I know a lot of people are involved in it. A lot of people have been caught after those Tencent numbers. Tencent got bashed hard again last night. I think almost 2% it got hit. Not on big volume, but still another day of heavy selling nonetheless. We've obviously been talking about different levels. We knew that 578 to 580 level was big. We knew that the 600 level was big. We've got some support here between about anywhere, you can call it maybe 564 to 567, somewhere in there. And we did kind of break out from a little bit from this level around 555, but I think if it gets below this level of support, we could be looking at it trading all the way down to kind of the bottom end of this range, which is still lower from here. We're really struggling to gain any traction on this thing, and it kind of seems like the market's really positioned long on this thing all of a sudden. So be really careful with that one today if we break below those levels. All right, ShopRite. I wanted to show ShopRite. We look here at a 3-month chart in ShopRite. We really, obviously, from breaking down those highs, we've kind of been in this little consolidation pattern, bouncing off the same sort of resistance going all the way across. We kind of starting to just make smaller and smaller pullbacks recently off of this one kind of sort of between 181 and 179 level. I would say if we can get above above 180 on a closing basis, I'd really like this thing on a potential breakout. And if you look at it a little bit longer term, you can see there, there could be a lot of legs if we can get above 180 on a closing basis on ShopRite. So I think that's one of the ones in the retail space that we can watch really closely. All right, last two I'm going to show are going to be both UK listed listings for you guys that are punting with us overseas and CFDs. Evraz at ticker EVR. Right here, we're coming up on some major support, but this kind of pattern really, to me, can oftentimes look very ominous. Too many tests of the same level will, oftentimes lend to a real breakdown. So right around 2.2 pounds, we break to the downside there. I think you can look to potentially get short there, but it could be support play if it manages to hold. So just wait and see what happens around that level. And then the last one I'm going to show is, Burberry. And Burberry really broke some quite significant support. Let me shorten this up just a touch. But we broke significant support on Friday. Friday we had an ugly session there. There is still a little bit of support right there. It was right where we closed. It's really kind of a full-on gap fill here at 13.15, 13.30, which is where we closed. If we manage to get below 13.30 and can hold below 13.30 today, and I think Burberry's got further downside. To me the pattern doesn't look great if we trade below here at all. So watch Burberry closely. It could have some more downside to it. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.